talking about dampness, its treatment and prevention. We all understand dampness. Dampness is something we can't, it's like almost impossible to do away with dampness in our building if the necessary steps or necessary procedures are not met as at when due. So to that effect, we are going to be explaining to us the importance of prevention of dampness, the treatment, and also the effect of it when you neglect this preventions and the treatment. So our table of contents, what we'll be focusing on now, we're looking at the menace called dampness. Yes, dampness is a serious menace in our society. Then we'll be looking at the causes of dampness, the now and long-term effects. Also, we are going to be focusing on dampness treatment. And also, we're going to talk about how to prevent dampness. And then finally, we will be looking at the benefits of the right process. The issue of rising damp has been a concern since ancient times. Dampness is the presence of unwanted moisture in the structure of a building as a result of intrusion from outside or condensation from within the structure. Dampness can occur in different parts of the building, such as the floor, walls, and roof. So what it means is dampness simply means the intrusion of moisture in the structure, unwanted moisture. So that is the major definition of dampness. So we can see pictures of what dampness looks like. These are the different types of dampness. And when it comes to dampness, although there are other types, but these are the major types of dampness, which is one, rising damp. Then secondly, we have the condensation damp, and then penetration damp. So we will be looking at these types of dampness individually. So now for the rising damp, rising damp in the building may be defined as the upward flow of moisture through a permeable wall structure, the moisture being derived from groundwater. So what this is telling us is rising damp originates from your groundwater. So it means when your structure is permeable, that is, it allows water to go through it, then you are definitely most likely to have this type of dampness. So the term is capillaries, capillarity. So you have water from the groundwater, especially for areas that are waterlogged area, like has high table water. So you have water moving from the ground onto the foundation and then gradually makes its way towards an upward movement of the building. So, and now that type of dampness can occur due to structural issues of the building. That is, if your building has a structural defect, when I say a structural defect, it is not properly designed, like from the design stage. Probably there's some things are not put into consideration, or there's probably so much load or anything. So when you talk about structural defects, then another thing that can cause this type of dampness is omission of waterproofing admixture and damp-proof course or membrane. So if you're doing your structure and you neglect to make use of a waterproofing admixture or a damp-proof course, then most likely going to have this kind of dampness, where you have an illustration of what course or waterproofing membrane. It makes your concrete impermeable, so the water is unable to go through to the level of your structure. So now this is another illustration of the rising damp. So now you can see 3 blocks immersed in water, and you can see how the water gradually makes its way up the blocks. So from the first block, you can see the level at which it is, and then the second block, and now the third block. So it means when you have issues of rising dampness, and you neglect it, what it means is it will gradually increase and it will become and lead to something worse at the end of the day, can even cause so many damage to your structure. Now, so how do you know you have a rising damp? These are some of the warning signs you should look out for. So when you have a damp in the lower part of your walls, so you have your walls and you can notice some dampness in the lower part, that is a sign of rising damp. Then you see that gradually this dampness gradually rises up, and then you notice patches on the wall, peeling off of your paints, then you have stains on your wall. So these are basically some of the signs that comes with rising dampness. So secondly, another type of dampness is the condensation dampness. Now, the condensation dampness is the most common type of damp. Yes, the rising damp is the most severe or most dangerous, if I may put it that way, but condensation is like the most common type of damp we have. So what can cause condensation? You have it occurs when you have humid air comes in contact with cold surface, such as your walls and your windows. Or in other words, when you have combination of excess moisture in the air or poor ventilation. So it means when you have activities like, for instance, when you cook in your building, we have this scenario. You said even such it can start from something simple such as steam from your kettle. Yes, that's condensation. So when you have activities in your building where there's not enough ventilation, the moisture is not able to escape. What it means is it will gradually condense in your building, and over time it will lay on your wall, which will make it cold, and with time it will cause dampness. So now, how do you know you have a condensation damp? Now, you have condensations on your walls, on your windows. So when you touch your walls, you notice it's very cold. You see your window, you have this, when you say condense, like we have this image, something like this, you have it, probably notice it on your windows or on your doors. So you know that you're having a condensation dampness. And then you have growth of mold on the walls or on the ceiling. So what it means is condensation does not have a particular location where it starts from, unlike the rising damp that starts from the ground level. It can be on any area of your building. It can be on your roof, it can be on the walls, it can be on the floors. So now another thing again is you have this musty smell. So it's your buildings is usually stuffy because of that. So that's it for condensation. Then thirdly, we have the penetration damp. So this is another type of dampness. So it's also called lateral damp, although sometimes people tend to separate it, but they are more or less the same. So penetration damp is the development of moisture through the walls and roof or through the underground walls of basements and cellars. In simpler terms, it is the end result of water successfully penetrating from the outside of the building into your property. So what this means is penetration damp is what can result due to defects due to leakage. So for instance, you have a roof gutter that is not properly treated. So when you have water go through it and your concrete is permeable, it means water will go through your roof gutters, which can cause dampness to the roof areas. So, or you have an open terrace or open roof areas, or you have probably a leaking pipe. So these are basically, so we can have see pictures of what it looks like. So penetration damp is due to probably defects or damage of a certain member of the building. So you can see it's either you can go through your roof gutter if you don't have a properly casted roof gutter, or you have wind vane also. If your external walls are very porous, or you don't have a damp-proof membrane over your external walls, that you can see it's more or less like almost the same with your rising damp. You're going to have patches on the wall, you have your paint peeling off, then you have rotting off your board, mold growth, and moldy smells. For one thing about penetration damp, penetration damp is something that occurs when you have during the raining season, most especially, because that's when you have your building exposed to rain. So that's what the penetration damp is. So we can see image of what, so this is an image of what or how moisture can go into your building. When you say dampness, dampness is something that you can never be too careful about it. So you can see image of, for condensation, you see the cooking going on, you see the steam coming out, and you see the windows are closed. So for that reason, the steam is going to settle on the wall, which will lead to damp. Then you see water ingress, probably from the cracks, you see penetration from rainwater, water from underground. So all these activities are something that can lead to dampness. So while we are taking our time to explain, so we can understand the various causes of dampness, and also when we now start to talk about the treatment, we can now understand, okay, when you have a particular, because you can have cases of I have a dampness, but some people don't understand what kind of dampness it is. So if you don't understand what kind of dampness you won't be able to know the best or most appropriate use to treat it, because for these different types of dampness, there are different methods of treatment for the dampness. So now we're going to be looking at the causes of dampness. Yes, although I already highlighted few points on the causes of dampness. The major cause of dampness is moisture. Yes, dampness is moisture, as I explained, as I defined in earlier, is moisture, unwanted moisture in your building. Now, what are those things that can cause this unwanted moisture to come into your building? One, we have a faulty construction or bad design. Yes, if you don't do your construction properly, or in the course of your design, you don't include maybe a damp course or an appropriate damp proofing method or damp proofing system, then you should know that over time, you are going to have issues with dampness. Then another thing is poor quality of construction materials. Yes, when you use construction materials that are not of good qualities, then that is another reason that can cause dampness. You have defective damp-proof products. Yes, we have a lot of products out there, so you should be very sure of what you're getting and be very sure it's a product that is very effective. Then another thing, cause of damp is leaking pipes. Yes, if you have leakage from your pipes, maybe you have your pipes through your walls, maybe broken or worn out, you have leakage from there, that also can cause dampness. Also, we have capillary actions. That's when you have water from your groundwater. You have water from the ground rising up your structure. That's another major cause of dampness. You have rainwater, you have presence of gutters. Yes, if you have a gutter, a drainage system very close to your house or a canal, then you should know that yes, dampness is something that would also affect the building. Then your wet areas, like your kitchen, your bathrooms, if they are not properly waterproofed or damp-proof in the course of construction, that again can cause damp. Then when you have cracks or defects, and you have cracks on your building, let's say, for instance, your rooftop or your slabs, you have cracks, there's tendencies that waters will go through those cracks, which will, at the end of the day, result to dampness. Then you also have poor ventilation, like when you don't ventilate your house very well, like it's very stuffy, that again can cause dampness. So now this is a picture of areas, things that can cause dampness. Yes, we have the crack here. You have your flat roof that is damaged. So definitely, so these are the major causes just in a picture. So when you glance the picture, you understand, okay, these are major things that can cause dampness. What are the effects of dampness? Yes, okay. We talk about dampness, causes of dampness. What are the effects? So this is like the now and long-term effects of dampness. If you have dampness in your buildings or in your structures, there are a lot of things that can go wrong. So which is number one, you have bleaching and flaking off of paints or wallpapers. So imagine having your paints looking rough or looking stained, or your wallpapers. You have deterioration of floor coverings. Your floors can get damaged. You have your plasters crumbling and peeling off. You also have efflorescence, which means your ultimate, it's like a gradual disintegration of your bricks or your stones or your tiles, because it's constantly exposed to moisture. So with time, there's going to be disintegration between it. You have warping or rotting of your timbers. Maybe like the doors are made up of timbers, or where you have the ceilings, gradually it will rot because of dampness. The other thing again is you have patches on the walls, like your building will look very bad. It's like sometimes when you go some parts of Lagos and you look at some buildings, some may be new, but when you look at the appearances, it looks very bad because of dampness. And that's one thing, long-term effects. When you have dampness, over time, your building will look very bad, and you'll be left with having to repaint, having to rescreed, which will cost a whole lot of money. So at the end of the day, you're going to spend a lot of money on maintenance. So like you're constantly trying to repair or maintain one thing because of dampness. Also, it will reduce the lifespan of your building. So you have your building, and the building you build that probably is supposed to stay probably 100 years, and it can't even stay up to 50 years. Then you can have buildings collapsing. Why? Because this water is not just about going into your concrete. It means when it gets into your concrete, it affects your reinforcement. You have air in your concrete already. So when moisture comes in contact with air and reacts with your reinforcement, what it means is it will gradually start to rust, which when you have your reinforcement rusting, at the end of the day, you can have collapse, you can have damage, severe damage of your building, which is very, very bad. So these are a lot of things that can go wrong when you have dampness. So also you can have damage to your electrical installations. That is, you're having short circuiting. Yes, when you have dampness, imagine where you have your sockets where your electrical works are, and you have dampness in such areas. What do you expect? There's proneness of electrical leakage, which can lead to electrocution. And you know what electrocution is, can also lead to something very worse. So you have growth of mold, growth of microorganisms like fungi, like bacteria. You have it in your space. And do you know what are the effects of having this? This is the effect. You have an unhygienic and health risk. So when you have stats that when it comes to dampness, or when it comes to the treatment, you have various methods or various techniques that are available for treating dampness, but this is dependent on the type of dampness you have and also the severity of the dampness. So now for rising damp, now to treat a rising damp, remember I said rising damp is like the most dangerous kind of damp you can have, because it's more or less like something you don't have control over. It's something you don't have control over. So now it's important to make do of the best method. So for rising damp, so the processes for treating rising damp is, one, we have injection of Coastal Damp Master 20. That's the first step. So, but before then, we understand that we have to prepare our surface. So, you know, when you have a rising damp, you already know that the plasters, the paints are very weak. So you have to first and foremost take it off. You have to scrape it off to get the hard block work so you can commence with your treatment. That's one. Then secondly, you do a light scrape. So after you've injected this sealant, you do a light scrape. Then thirdly, you do an application of coastal crystal coat. So the coastal crystal coat is a crystalline waterproof slurry. So what it does is the crystal coat is a penetrator. So it's not a membrane, it's a penetrator. Remember, for somebody to be experiencing rising damp, it can be as a result of one, the concrete work was, there was absence of waterproofing admixture. So the concrete is permeable, so it's not impermeable then, or there's absence of damp proof course or membrane, or it is even not effective phase. Then another thing you would do is now do application of the Coastal 2K membrane. So what the Coastal 2K does is, the Coastal 2K is a cementitious membrane which is water repellent. So what it means is water from your building or water from the surroundings can no longer affect your wall. So when you apply it on your wall, even when you have issues of steam or you have issues of condensation, it cannot affect your wall. So the membrane repels against water. Then you can do your plastering where you can add the hydroproof 300, then screed with the coastal wall putty, and then you can apply your paint. So we are going to be looking at these products individually so we can understand the technicality of this product. So for the Coastal Damp Master, as I said, it's a water-based injection sealant, which when injected into the mortar course, it diffuses within the damp wall to form a damp-proof course. So now we understand what the Coastal Damp Master is. When you inject it, it goes in towards downward, and then it will diffuse to form the damp-proof course, thereby blocking any groundwater coming up. So that's what it does. So it can be used for different areas, for masonry walls, such as solid bricks, cavity walls, rubbles, infill walls, and so on. So any kind of walls you have, it can be used for it. So what is the application process for the Coastal Damp Master? First and foremost, you have to do a proper surface preparation. So what it means is the substrate for which the product will be applied on has to be properly prepared. So as I stated, you have to take off existing plasters and paints to get the solid block walls. Then the next step is identify thickness. So now, because you have to drill in the wall, there's a certain thickness or a certain depth that should be drilled. So the depth of the hole to be drilled is dependent on the thickness of your blocks. So on this table, you can see the different range of thickness and the depth of the hole that should be drilled with it. So when we identify this, then we go ahead and drill our hole. Then the third phase is to inject. So you have the injection equipment. This is what it looks like. So you put the Coastal Damp Master, it's a sealant, into the compressor cup and then inject it through that hole. So consumption is also dependent on, so we have on this table also where you have the consumption rate depending on the length and thickness of your wall. So if you're doing, for instance, a 10 linear meter walls and you have it 1100 mm, So you know your consumption will be 1.5 kg. So this table also shows the consumption rate. So now we have a note here. It said all drilled holes shall either be plugged or filled and pointed over using appropriate coastal mortar. Remember, you drilled a hole and you injected. So after injection, you have to seal those holes using a mortar, coastal mortar, to seal the holes. So now, after your injection has been completed, so what we're going to be doing, the second phase is, remember I said we do a light screed. So a light screed more of just to block those holes that has been drilled, so you don't have it coming out from it. So when you do that, you do application of the coastal crystal coat. So this is a non-component crystalline waterproofing slurry that is specially designed to permanently waterproof both old and new concrete. It lowers the permeability of concrete. So if for the case of your building not having waterproofing admixture, you can use this to kind of make up for that. So after the injection of the Coastal Damp Master, you can do an application of the Coastal Crystal Coat as a layer to penetrate your concrete and tighten those pores. So some of the benefit of this is protect concrete against fresh water, salt water, aggressive groundwater, and can resist strong hydrostatic pressures. So now the application process for this also is, first and foremost, the coastal crystal coat is applied on the surface 2 to 3 days to ensure proper curing of the surface. So what this means is, after doing your light screed, you have to wait a minimum of 2 days before you apply the coastal crystal coat. So what we are trying to ensure that your screed is properly cured. Then the coastal crystal coat is mixed with a clean water at a ratio of 3 to 1. So when you have 3 kg of coastal crystal coat, you mix with 1 liter of water. So you mix at least 3 minutes with a mechanical mixer to a creamy slurry consistency. Mix only as much material as can be used within 30 to 40 minutes. So because the coastal crystal coat sets very fast, so it's not advisable for you to mix and store. So you ensure to mix what you can use in the space of 30 to 40 minutes. Another important thing we must note is ensure the surface is SSD, so surface saturated dry. That is, you know, when you want to do a membrane on a surface, you have to use a primer. So what this means is the primer for the crystal coat is water. So you have to apply water. You're not pouring so much water, you're just making the surface damp. You apply water on it, maybe with your roller, then before you do the application of the product. So it comes 20 kg the package, and the coverage is between 12 to 15 square meter, depending on the layers, how many layers you want to do. Then in the third product we will be looking at for the treatment of the dampness, rising damp, is the Costa 2K. Remember I stated the Costa 2K is to prevent water from your surrounding getting to your walls. So now we have to understand or clarify why we have these different products. First, we have the Damp Master. The Damp Master is to penetrate through your walls towards downward. It will diffuse and form a damp-proof coat. That's the purpose of the Damp Master. The crystal coat is to penetrate your wall, react with the water on the wall, and form and fill in the pores of your walls. So the Costa 2K is to prevent water from your surrounding area from staying on your wall, because if you have that, okay, you treat your rising damp and you have water from the surrounding area, it also affects the wall, which can also cause condensation, remember. So that is the purpose of using the Costa 2K. Then the application is more or less like the crystal coat. Then you mix, it comes in 2 packs. You have the liquid and the powder. So you mix these two to get a slurry. So when you mix this, you can also apply with the trowel, roller, or brush. Also for the Coaster 2K, you have to make the surface SSD, surface saturated dry. That is for the Coaster 2K. Then finally, after the application of Coaster 2K, you can do your plastering. So for your plastering, you can now plaster adding the hydroproof WP300. It's an admixture basically to enhance the properties of your mortar. So you can just mix it at a very little dosage, 0.5 liter to a bag of cement to do your plastering. So after that, so let's look at what the hydroproof is. It says a specially formulated liquid anti-cracks. So what it means is for your plaster, after plastering, you are not it prevents cracks. So it becomes an integral part of your mortar, and it's also reduce the transmission of water through the concrete mortar or screed. So that's the sole purpose for using the hydroproof. Then you can now do your screeding. So for screeding, we have the Coastal Wall Putty, which comes in either gray or white and any color of your choice. It's a specially developed base coat to provide smooth finish on plastered surface, and hence ideal for paint applications because paint saving can be up to 50%. So when you use the Coastal Wall Putty, you can save as much as 50% on the consumption of your paint. So that's one of the benefits of using the Coastal Wall Putty. Also, application is the surface must be clean, dry, dense, rough, and free from probably grease or oil, anything that can hinder or reduce adhesion. Then you mix the product with a clean water, stir with a paddle mixer until you achieve a lump-free compound. So the stirring can take as much as 3 to 5 minutes. So you can apply the wall putty in a uniform layer on the substrate using the iron trowel. So coverage of this is also 15 square meters for 20 kg bag. So I would like to share with us a video so that we can see what the application process looks like. Okay. So we understand the processes involved in. Okay. So as I say, first of all, identify the problem. So definitely they would have taken up the loose concrete and loose plasters and things. So this is the injection process. You inject. So, okay, now another thing you notice that the drilling is done in a parallel line at a certain distance. So you see what it does? It's with a fuse down. So this is you sealing up the surface after the injection. Then you can do your crystal coat. The crystal coat, the Coaster 2K. And then you can now do your painting after your scraping. So I want to believe we understand. Okay. So now, secondly, so we've looked at treatments for rising damp. We now understand fully what it is like treating rising dampness. So secondly, we are going to be looking at penetration damp. Now, remember that penetration dampness, some of the source or causes of this type of dampness is as a result of maybe leakage. You have a leakage maybe from a pipe, or you have cracks, or you have drainage very close to your building. So first and foremost, when you realize the kind of damp you have is a penetration damp, the first thing you should do is you have to repair So if it's like a broken pipe, for instance, you have to figure out, trace the pipe and repair it first and foremost. So that's one thing. You repair whatever is the cause or the root cause of the dampness. So after repair, then you can apply the coastal repel spray on the external walls. So with that, your penetration damp is taken care of. Then there's also the Costarchem 250. That's for cases of open roof, terrace, or roof gutters. So now we are going to be looking at this product to understand. So now, the coastal repel SP. So what does it do? This protects the surface against rainwater penetration without changing the aesthetic appearance of the substrate. So it is solvent-free and water-repelling. It is suitable for use on all types of masonry, including concrete, bricks, stone surface, and both absorbent and dry to ensure an effective protective layer against penetration of rainwater. It can be exposed to ultraviolet light. So another major cause of penetration, aside from having damage, is rainwater. Wind waters, most of us know it. So you know water is something we don't have control over. So it's very important we prepare our external walls. We apply this to prevent water from penetrating. So now, how do we apply this? The application process is, first, surface should be sound, clean, free from dust, oil, grease, and curing compound. It is very important that proper surface preparation is done whenever we want to do any application of any kind, any product. Surface preparation is very important. Then you apply the product until there is no absorption. So it's very easy. The product comes in a liquid form. So basically what you just have to do is you get it, prepare your surface, and you do your application. So now you apply product until there is no absorption. So for surfaces that are very absorbent, you have to continue to apply it. So for this reason, we can't really tell you, okay, this is likely what the coverage should look like. So it depends on the absorption rate of your substrate. So you can apply these products by using your brush, your roller, or a low pressure spray. So note, Costa 2K and screeding with the coastal wall putty can be used as an alternative, yes. So if you don't want to do the coastal repel SP, you can also make use of the Costa 2K. Remember I said Costa 2K is water repellent, so it doesn't allow water go through. So when you apply the Costa 2K on your external walls, then you cannot have wind rain going through it. So another product you can use is the Costarchem 250. So Costarchem 250, this is a reversionary single component, permanently elastic polyurethane waterproofing membrane, which after polymerization forms an elastomeric polyurethane membrane, resisting UV rays and capable of handling building movement. So it may be applied easily on different surfaces, be it concrete, mortar, bricks, ceramics, bituminous membranes, steel, zinc, aluminum. So it means you can apply the Costarchem 250 on any substrate. So why do I recommend the Costarchem 250 again? Costarchem 250 is recommended for areas that are exposed to ultraviolet light, UV rays. So like saying sunlight. So if you have areas, for instance, your roof gutters, your terraces, open terrace, and you want a finished system for these areas, the Costarchem 250 is the best product to go for. It also has a service life of 25 years. So how do we apply this? First and foremost, we do our substrate preparation, then we prime. So for the Costarchem 250, unlike the crystal coat and the Costa 2K where you prime with water, The Consi 250 has its own special primer, which is Coastal Primer 20 or the PU primer. So you have to prime your surface after the preparation of the surface, and then before you apply your Conceal 250. So you can do this application by using a roller or a brush until you cover all the surfaces. So note, before you do your second layer, you ensure to give a space of 48 hours before you do your second layer, and it should be in opposite direction. So if you've done your first layers probably from the right to the left, second layer would be from the left to the right. So this is just to seal up the membrane. Okay, so then thirdly, we're going to be looking at condensation dampness, how to treat condensation dampness. So now condensation dampness, the causes of it, as we stated, it's when you have, okay, so causes of it are you have issues like steam from cooking at home, or you have inadequate ventilations, or you have stuffy environment. So these are some of the things we can do. Condensation damp, as I stated, is most common. So, but the treatment is something very simple. So these are some of the things we should do when we are having, or to prevent this kind of damp. So first and foremost, you have close the kitchen and bathroom doors while in use. Yes. So when you're probably cooking or when you're in the restroom, ensure to close the door. That's the doors going into your main buildings, like going to the city rooms, but you can of course leave the kitchen door that leads outside open. Then for some of us who can, when cooking, you can make use of an extractor fan and the pan covers. So when you're cooking, we're going to be looking at making use of the damp-proof course. For the damp-proof course of membrane, we have Pro Shade, Coastal Pro Shade. So for damp-proof course, we have an image of what it looks like to make use of the damp-proof course. And you can see this is a method, a layer of water repellent material, which can be bitumen, plastic sheets, cementitious, metal sheets, or stones. It is inserted at all the building mixture entry is anticipated. Make do of the damp-proof course. So you can see an image of what it looks like. So you see your ground level, and you have it just above it. So it prevents moisture from the soil to come in contact with your concrete to prevent rising damp. So this is what it looks like. So for the COSFA products, we have Coastal Pro Sheet. So the Coastal Pro Sheet, this is a polymer modified bituminous waterproofing sheet. It is manufactured from a mixture of bitumen and selected polymers blended together to obtain good waterproofing properties used on basements, retaining walls, foundation walls, and all that. So for you to prevent dampness from the onset, you make use of the damp-proof course, which we have the Coastal Pro Sheet. That's one. So how do we apply this? First and foremost, adequate and detailed surface preparation is essential for durability of the product after installation. Yes, you have to prepare your surface. Not that where you have reinforcement, you just place it on it. It will definitely puncture it, and then water will go through those areas that are punctured. So you have to prepare your surface and ensure your surface is properly ready for the sheet. Then you install on all members of plies from low points or drain, so that the flow of water is over or parallel to the ply. So when you want to apply, you apply based on where you have your flow of water. You don't apply perpendicular to where you have flow of water. It should be parallel to where you have your water flow, so that you don't have water going through the sides to the other end. So first and foremost, before you apply, you unroll the sheet and then you place it properly. Then you overlap it for areas, because it comes in a 10 linear meter and is 4 mm thick. So, but for the places where you have the edges, you overlap. You don't put it side by side, you overlap it and then you seal it. So installation is done by an open flame. So that's for the Coastal Pro Sheet. Then another thing again we have to put into consideration when doing our construction is the integral damp proof. So now we have our damp proof course, but then it is very important that we make our concrete itself watertight, because if your concrete is watertight, no matter the level of water you have, the water would not go through your concrete. I feel this is like the most important form of preventing dampness. So you make do of an integral waterproofing membrane. So now if you're doing a below grade structure, it is very important that you make use of the crystalline, that is the hydrophilic waterproofing admixtures. But in a case where you are doing an above grade, like maybe you want to cast your roof slab or you want to do your plastering, then you can make use of the general waterproof admixture. That is the hydrophobic. So we have an image of what it looks like to have the waterproofing admixture in. So for the crystalline, which is the hydrophilic, so this admixture, as I stated, is appropriate for your below grade. It permanently makes your concrete watertight. So one beautiful thing about waterproofing admixture, while I say it's most likely the best ways or best means of prevention of dampness, is it becomes an integral part of your concrete. So it is part and parcel of it, like two have become one. So it means that even when a particular part of the concrete is damaged, it doesn't affect the waterproofing of the, unlike when you have a sheet or when you have a membrane, when you have a puncture, then water can go in through that point and then can still affect your concrete. So these are highlighted the characteristics of the Crystal 2006. So now another beautiful thing about our product, the Crystal 2006, is the fourth generation crystalline waterproofing admixture. So what it means is it's not just hydrophilic, it is both hydrophobic in nature. So that's a beautiful thing about the Crystal 26. So it reacts to water at the same time repel against water. Then it permanently waterproof the concrete. It becomes an integral part of the concrete. It protects your concrete against chemical attack and corrosion of your reinforcing steel. Yes. So another benefit of the Crystal 26 is it self-heals, penetrates and cracks up to 0.4 mm, and also airline cracks. So it can self-heal airline cracks. So when you cast, because why this will happen is because the Crystal 26 reacts when it comes in contact with water, gets activated, and then brings in needle-like crystals which fill in the pores. So when you have airline cracks or penetrating cracks, it will automatically heal it, seal it off. So it can be used for both above and below grade, but most appropriate for your below grade structure. So the dosage is at 0.8 to 1% of your weight of cement. So it means you'll be using between 0.4 kg to 0.5 kg to a bag of cement. So the Crystal 26, the Crystal 2000, the Crystal 26 is a powdered crystalline waterproofing admixture, while the Crystal 2000 is a liquid, because it depends on choice. Most times people will tell you, oh, they prefer to make use of liquid, or I prefer to make use of powder. So if you want to go for the liquid, we have the Crystal 2000. It's a third generation. So the Crystal 2000 is not a fourth generation. So we should know that. It is only the Crystal 2006 that is the fourth generation. So it's a third generation crystalline waterproofing admixture. It protects against negative and positive water pressure. Yes. So when I say negative and positive, it means both water from the external and water from the internal. So both inside and outside, there's protection against it. So it also becomes an integral part of your concrete. You can also use it for your below or above grade. Provides you a watertight concrete. Then for the general, so this is ideal when you want to do your above grade structures, like when you want to cast your roof slab or your terraces, or you want to do your plastering, waterproof, which will repel against water. So this is hydrophobic. It is water repellent. It doesn't allow water to stay on it. So it's just like when you have a glass and you pour water on a glass. That's what it makes your concrete. It makes your concrete glass-like. So part of the benefit of the Hydroproof 300 is it prevents against water penetration and damage, increase resistance to weathering, freeze, or thaw cycle. Yes. So now for cases where you have, so now for you to prevent penetration damp, while doing your screeding, you can do your screeding or your plastering with using the general waterproofing admixture. When you make use of the general waterproofing admixture, your screeding, see, it can prevent against wind, rain. It doesn't allow water go through. So also increase resistance against steel corrosion. So when you don't have water go in through your concrete, definitely you cannot have your reinforcement corrode. Okay, so the Hydroproof 300 is a liquid, while the Hydroproof 100 is the powdered version. So now we have the third method to prevent dampness. So we now understand that to prevent dampness, one, there's importance of using the damp-proof course. Then secondly, we make use of the integral damp-proof method. And then thirdly, we make use of waterproof surface treatment. Yes, so the waterproof surface treatment is more or less making use of water repellent material, which is applied. You can either do it externally or internally to improve your surface. So we have an image of what it looks like. So when you apply this treatment, so there are different products you can apply to improve your surface. You make it water repellent. So you have the Conceal 300. So Conceal 300 is a pure bitumen emulsion with excellent elastic property used for long-lasting waterproofing. So it's a single component liquid which dries to form a black flexible coating. So when you want to do a membrane or a surface treatment on your building, you can make use of the Conceal 300. So you apply it before you do your screeding. After your plastering, you do your Conceal 300, and then you can now do your screeding. So with that, you are sure to have prevented any form of dampness, be it penetration or condensation dampness. So how do we apply this product? So you apply by first and foremost surface preparation, of course. Then you stir the product. It comes in a liquid form. So what you need to do is just stir the product, and then you can apply using either a roller or a brush. So you can reinforce using conceal fiber. It is optional. So usually for problem areas, maybe for the edges, where you have edges or where you have cracks or defects, you can make use of the fiber and do a second layer on it just to ensure proper application. So now, this is what a complete waterproofing solution looks like. So now we now understand the importance of preventing dampness and the methods to prevent dampness. So we have a picture of what it looks like to do a complete system, right from your foundations, make use of the damp proof course, your integral waterproofing admixtures, your surface treatment, and what have you. So when you have an exposed roof, endeavor to do a proper surface finish, where you can make use of the Conceal 250. And then for your external walls, you can screed with, you can do your plastering or your screeding with the IDRIPL WP300, or you can apply the surface treatment, the Conceal 300. So when you do your complete waterproofing system on your building, then what are the benefits? You are sure to what? Elongate the lifespan of your building. Yes, when you do the right process, you elongate the lifespan, you increase the property value. Yes, you increase the property value because your building would just remain the way it is after many years. It doesn't depreciate. Then you provide healthy environment for the occupant. It is very important. In as much as we want to make money, we must also have in mind that the healthiness of the occupants are very important. Then you reduce drastic costs of maintenance, like having to repair, having to treat dampness. Then you have peace of mind. Yes. Then you do your structure as an engineer after construction and you stay years, you don't have issues of dampness. You have peace of mind. You even get recommendation, you get referrals, because if you build my house for me and I don't have issues, most likely I would call you when I have someone who wants to do the same thing. So it is very important to do the right process. Doing the right process does not halt. It is not even as expensive as we think it. So it is even more expensive when you have to treat, because guess what? When it now comes to treating dampness, a lot of things can go wrong. So it's not as if it's a permanent cure. So it's better to do the right process from the beginning to avoid a lot of things that can go wrong. So when we do the right process, everybody's happy at the end of the day. So there's no cause for alarm, there's satisfaction and all what have you. So at this junction, we have come to the end of the webinar.